Brand of ITV. Andy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Prime Minister. Hello. Thank you, Prime Minister. Aren't people entitled to ask, if your own brother can't back you, why should anyone else?
Well, actually, my own brother, as you'll have seen from what he said this afternoon, well, first of all, I want to pay great tribute. Andy's asking about my brother Joe, who is a fantastic guy and was a brilliant minister for science, for universities, did a fantastic amount of good work for us, for this country in that area. Now, Joe doesn't agree with me about the European Union because it's an issue that obviously divides families and divides everybody. But I think what Joe would agree is that we need to get on and sort this thing out. And I think what Joe certainly would agree, and I think he said as much this afternoon, is that this government has exactly the right priorities when it comes to dealing with the issues that really matter to the British people. And I'm talking about making our streets safer, I'm talking about improving our hospitals and improving our education service. So I thank Joe for all the work that he's done and for the support that he's given for our domestic agenda. And I'm going to go now to Paul Brand of ITV.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Prime Minister, if your own brother has lost faith in your plan...
I'm sorry, go on.
It's a related topic, Prime Minister, but a different question.
Oh, sorry.
If your own brother has lost faith in your plan, surely you'll have to be the next member of the Johnson family to resign.
Well, my intention, as I said just now, and I'm absolutely determined to do this, is to deliver on the mandate of the people. We have a democracy in this country. And the way we work is that when the people of Britain take a decision, parliamentarians are sworn to uphold that decision. And that's what we all said we would do several times in the House of Commons to respect the result of the 2016 referendum on the EU, when people voted by a very substantial majority to leave. We all said we would do it, and that is what I want to do. And I have to say, I think there is a stark contrast between my approach and, I hate to be party political, but that is the sad reality, the approach of Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party, because at the moment, he won't. Not only are they voting to make it impossible for this country to decide on its own to leave the EU, but they're also making it possible for the people of this country to have an election. I think he must be the first leader of the opposition in history to refuse to have an election. In fact, it seems to me to be a breach of his job description. If he's part of the opposition, he should be actively seeking an election. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. But my job is to get us out on October the 31st, and that is what we're going to do. Beth Rigby of Sky News.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, when you became Prime Minister, you said you would unite our country. Instead, you're splitting your party, and now even your own brother feels he cannot serve under you. If your own brother doesn't trust you to act in the national interest, why should all of we?
Well, as you'll have seen what Joe had to say about our agenda, and he's a strong... Look, people disagree about the EU. But the way to unite the country, I'm afraid, is to get this thing done. That is the reality. The longer this goes on, the more dither and delay we have from Parliament, inspired, I'm afraid, by Jeremy Corbyn, the worse this thing will be. What people want to see is a resolution, and they want to see us getting this thing done. And that's what we're going to do. Kate Ferguson from The Sun.
Hello, Prime Minister. Can you make a promise today to the British public that you will not go back to Brussels and ask for another delay to Brexit?
Yes.
And sorry.
I can.
And would you
I'd rather be dead in a ditch.
So you would resign first, Prime Minister, rather than go and ask for that delay?
I just don't. It costs £1 billion a month. It achieves absolutely nothing. What on earth is the point of further delay? I think it's totally pointless. Claire Ellicott from the Daily Mail.
Thank you. Your own Chancellor has become the latest Tory MP to voice concerns about your purge of 21 rebels from the party. Do you regret your actions? Were they too hasty? And is there a way back for those MPs?
Well, let's be clear what we want to do. I think what this country wants and what people in Parliament want is to see us coming out of the EU on October the 31st. And I'm afraid that the bill that was passed yesterday, alas, really makes it much more difficult for us to negotiate. And what it says, it actually draws up the MPs wrote a letter that the Prime Minister would have to give to Brussels, demanding an extension beyond October the 31st, and then Brussels, the EU, would decide how long the UK was going to remain in the EU. And with the best will in the world, I cannot see how that is democratic unless that is put to the British people. I think if that is really what Parliament wants, to give the EU this power to keep us in the EU themselves, and to scupper the negotiations, then I think there should be a clear choice for the country. And we should decide, who do you want to be at that crucial summit on October the 17th? Do you want Jeremy Corbyn going there with his plan to extend and delay and keep us in the EU forever and a day, or do you want to settle this thing, bring us all together, and deliver on the mandate of the people? And that is what I will do. So for me, that is very, very clearly the way forward, and that's the point that I made to all my colleagues and friends in Parliament. And no one, of course, discipline is always tough, but here we are amongst a body of men and women who know that sometimes you have to administer discipline, and you have to be very clear about your message, and that's what we're being. So, Kate Proctor in the Guardian, from the Guardian.
Thank you, Kate Proctor from The Guardian. Prime Minister, exactly when are you going to hold an inquiry into Islamophobia in the Conservative Party that you promised to do on live television?
Well, we are going to have as I think Sajid Javid and I agreed, we're going to have a general inquiry into all manner of racism and hate crime as soon as that can be got underway. But I have to tell you, we have a zero tolerance policy towards Islamophobia and all manner of hate crime and prejudice in the Conservative Party, as you can imagine. I think that is going to be it. I'll take one more there and one more there. You say no.
Dennis Staunton from the Irish Times. You, over the past few days, have been quoting the late Reverend Ian Paisley, who spoke about how his people were British but his cows were Irish, as justification for the idea that there could be a different agri-food regulatory regime in Northern Ireland to the rest of the United Kingdom. Could you foresee a different regulatory regime for anything else in Northern Ireland except agri-food?
Well, you're right that was what Ian Paisley said. He said that of Northern Ireland, he said the people were British but the cattle were Irish, and in that idea, there is the germ of a solution to the question of cross-border frictionless cross-border movement across the Northern Irish border. We do want to minimise all theoretical checks as well as practical checks. We think all practical checks can, of course, be taken away from the border. There's no need for, and the UK will not be instituting any border checks of any kind in Northern Ireland. But we also think there is scope for recognition of the practical reality on the ground in the agri-food sector in Northern Ireland, and but any extension, all that, it depends entirely. I've got to be and indeed whether it could be extended to any other sectors, that depends entirely on democratic control by the people of the United Kingdom. Do you see what I mean? That's the crucial thing. I'll take one more. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's Jessica Shankelman here from Bloomberg News. You've talked today, Prime Minister, about the need for trust. And Jeremy Corbyn says he can't trust you to hold an election before the Brexit date and before the EU Council. Can you today give a commitment that
yes.
you would...
Right. Well, is that his line today? Aha. He can't... Right. This is a new one. If I understood it correctly, you just said that the leader of the opposition says he cannot trust me to hold an election before Brexit. Right. Well, I said about 5 times in Parliament. How many times I have to say it? We want an election on October the 15th. October the 15th. And indeed, earlier if he wants. Let's crack on with it. I really don't see how we can have a situation in which the British ability to negotiate is absolutely torpedoed by Parliament in this way, with powers of the British people handed over to Brussels so that we can be kept incarcerated in the EU without that actually being put to the people in the form of a vote. And, time and time again, Jeremy Corbyn, don't worry, I'm going to end very soon. You're right. Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. Okay, I think that is a signal for me actively to wind up. Okay, time and time again, Jeremy Corbyn has said he wants a vote, and he said he wants an election, and here he is. He's got an election absolutely being offered to him, and for reasons I don't quite follow, he seems to be opting out. I leave you to speculate as to why he may be reluctant to do it. But it seems to me if he wants to avoid a no-deal Brexit, or if he wants to avoid a hard Brexit, then he should believe in himself to go to Brussels on that crucial summit on October the 17th and sort it out. That seems to me to be the obvious thing. But I think what we should do is have an election and decide who goes to get there. Okay, folks, thank you all very, very much. And thank you all for listening so patiently for so long. Congratulations to all of you on what you are doing. And thank you very much for all that you are going to do, to all the risks that you're going to take, running towards danger rather than away from it, to make our country and our society safer. Thank you very much.
Well, there it is, Boris Johnson. The backdrop, very much the police, the critical comments on Brexit, saying Parliament had scuppered his negotiating position. What I want to do now, he said, is give the country a choice. It's our plan to take the country out on October the 31st, or else someone else should be allowed to keep the UK in after October the 31st. It should be a matter for the public to decide. Let's go back to Geeta at Westminster. So a very, very clear choice again presented.
Absolutely. I am joined